So what we're going to do now in the next kind of a little bit more than an hour is to give you a real practical insight to what we've been developing in the project. For those who were in Borås yesterday, you got a chance perhaps to try out some of the technology, but now we're going to do that, in practice with music. So here on stage, we have musicians from the contemporary music ensemble Gageego, which is based here in Gothenburg, and ShareMusic's own electronic ensemble ELEFANTÖRA. But we also have two musicians in a studio in Brewhouse, in another venue. And we will now talk you through the different kinds of technologies we've been working with. And then we will also play, and between each piece, we will tell you what technology we are using, so you get an idea about what's used here. There's a lot of people who have been involved in this work, and I already now want to say a big thank you to everyone. But now first I would like to give the floor to Nigel Osborne, who will give you a little bit of insight to the background to this work.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What a treat. Thank you, Sophia. What a delight to work with you and with ShareMusic. Great stuff. 75 years ago, a science fiction writer predicted exactly what we've done yesterday and today. Ray Bradbury in 1950 envisaged a house, a home, a platform with windows that led out onto amazing realities, not just what's outside, but what's beyond, onto culture and nature, with hidden cameras and projectors in the glass. And beyond, I quote from him, beyond the glass, color and fantasy, the walls live, hidden films and images, culture and nature, blue lions, lilac panthers, cavorting in crystal substance, the buzzing of bees, the purring of lions, and the murmuring of jungle rain. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all of that in our project. And by the way, the subtitle was Today, the real title was There Will Come Soft Rains, I should have said that, but the subtitle is Today is August the 4th, 2026. Now, this is a Muse-IT deliverable that came 11 months, one day early. Thank you. Another science fiction writer in 1955, John Wyndham, in The Chrysalids, talks about David and Rosalind, who find themselves isolated in the world, in a society that has excluded them for many, many reasons, not just for some physical challenges, but for the way they think. So what do? They invent a way, a secret technology, we never find out exactly, with which they communicate with one another and co-create and share emotions and coexist. So there again, John Wyndham, thank you. 70 years ago, you anticipated what we're going to show right now. What we're going to show right now is a remote co-creation platform. It came about because of the pandemic, largely, and the problems that we found in ShareMusic and other organizations working with people with disability, how cut off everybody became. Everybody became cut off, but for people with disability, even more so, even more cruelly. And then none of the technologies worked. Zoom, Teams, with a long delay. We had ways of cheating that. We all used a cappella and what have you as musicians, but it wasn't. You weren't able to play together, which is exactly what we needed to do. So in this project, we were looking to find a way of playing together, and we did. By linking up with Stanford. We were very lucky to have a link through Patricia Alessandrini, who we'll be seeing very soon, who's been a wonderful creative member of our team, but also was at that point lecturing in Stanford. And their technology, Jacktrip, was exactly what we were looking for. It needed some changes and developments, but we were able to do that. We were able to add a video. We were able to create a data channel on it. and things that we needed to make it operative in something bigger. So we did pretty well, and I have to say the experience of playing with it up to long distances is beautiful. One of my biggest shocks as a musician, after having discovered live electronic music in the 1960s, was discovering Jack Tripp. Just how wonderful it felt being together with people in the ether at long distance, and how beautiful the non-compressed sound was. But then there's more we needed. We always felt something was a bit missing, and what's missing is the kind of communication that takes place between musicians when they're at close proximity. We pick up so many things from one another, from the temperature of our bodies, pheromones, even certain electromagnetic frequencies we do detect, and to all sorts of things, body heat, the scent of somebody, their intentions, the state of their mind and body. So what do we do to replace that? Well, what we do is we sense state of mind and body. We use EEG, electroencephalograms, the electrical activity of the brain. We use sensors that can take heart rate, sensors that can deal with the changes in heart rate, and cameras that can look at facial expressions, and we use all of those things. And with that, we can develop an information that we can communicate between performers. We can tell one performer what the state of mind and body is of the other performer. And we achieve that through a mixture of haptics, though we're not demonstrating that today because we don't have enough activators, but we use avatars as well. And the avatars is in a state of development. I'm very happy to say that the guy who created Inside Out, Ronnie Del Carmen, can't wait to get his hands onto this. And we have to talk about this ambitious exploitation later, but all sorts of interesting destinations for what we're doing. And I think I should emphasize also that this was co-created. It's not for me to say that. I have minor disabilities. I've been suffering them at the moment, but managing, so a little bit understand, but it's not my right to judge on this, but I feel that we consulted well, and it's in the traditions and ethos of ShareMusic. It's what we do. We work together. As my colleagues know on the stage, Peter and so on, Eva, Sayam know, and we're colleagues. We do this together. And we did 7 participatory sessions with between 30 and 40 musicians, disabled musicians, working intensively. This is not just questionnaires. This is several days of working deeply together, developing the stuff. And we had 9 sessions that involved a larger public with what I call performances of understanding. I picked that up when I worked for Harvard Postgraduate Education School. We decided that was a way of communicating things, and that reached probably about 5,000 people, with the feedback from quite a few. So we've had strong participation. Finally, because my time is finished, we have another rather magical thing. Arthur C. Clarke in 1947 anticipated the time when a composer would be able to sit and imagine the music that they wanted to hear and would hear it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. It's here. Arthur C. Clarke is also vindicated. And why is this important? Because there are certain people with disability who can't have movement, can't maybe even with their eyes be particularly articulate, but have wonderful thoughts to share. So what we do is we're taking EEG, we're taking electrical activity of their brain, and with that, working with AI to take their ideas, thoughts, and impulses and help them turn that to music. So Arthur C. Clarke, we did it. And what a wonderful project. Thank you so very much. Nasreen, God bless you. It's been fantastic what you've achieved. I can't congratulate you enough. Thank you. I'll hand over to Patricia, who I think can say a little bit more about Jack Tripp. She's been our guardian angel. Patricia, are we able to contact you?
Yes. Can you hear me okay? Great. Hello. I'm delighted to be with you, if virtually, and we'll see how well that works. Please, if you can't hear me, just let me know if there's any problems with the connection. So I'm Patricia Alessandrini. I'm representing the Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics, or CARMA, at Stanford University, where I taught for several years. And I'm currently a professor of artistic research at the Haute École de Musique de Lausanne, and affiliated with the University of Applied Sciences and Arts of Western Switzerland, the HESSO, and I also serve on ShareMusic's international board. So I'm here to tell you just a little bit about Jacktrip, which is this software that we're using for uncompressed, low latency audio over the network. So it was developed at CARMA, the center at Stanford, in the early 2000s by Chris Chafe. And it allows for high quality sound. So the sound that you're hearing usually over Zoom or Teams is compressed, and it's not optimized for latency because that's not really the use that it was thought for. So Jacktrip had already become the standard for network music performance as early as 2007. It was used in the EU project Cooperation in Media in Digital Arts Comedia. So as Nigel mentioned, research on Jacktrip really took off because of its great need during the global pandemic, as Zoom and Teams were not made for musical low latency use. So at Stanford, we actually had ensembles who didn't miss a single rehearsal during lockdown because everyone was able to connect at home and to play everything from orchestral, choral, chamber music like Brahms, improvisation, all of that from at home. Now, of course, this also expanded access for people with limited mobility beyond the needs of the pandemic, just as video conferencing is allowing me to speak with you now. So that is the beginning of an access that we want to explore further and enrich with multimodality. So in the context of MusIT, Jacktrip allows us to realize the goal of co-creation, not just receiving audiovisual experience, but being an active participant in it by performing and creating music in real time using interactive environments such as Aircam's AI co-creation environment, SOMAX, which Hans Kretz will be speaking about in the next for the next piece after the first. So it is all about connecting across boundaries, including international borders, by bringing musicians together, separated by space, into the same virtual room to play together. So Nigel talked about participatory workshops. These were really important, and Peter Larsson, the composer of the first piece you're going to hear, was a part of them, as well as Eva, who is the composer of the second piece. And these allowed us to form our goals collectively as part of a co-design process, and to center disabled musicians in multimodal online performances. So for instance, one of these workshops was in March 2023, and I'm going to show you just a picture of that so you have an idea of what this work was. So here in this picture, you see the Karma stage, and you see on the screen Peter Larsson, Chris Chafe, the developer of Jacktrip, and also Joel Mansour, another performer with collaborating with ShareMusic. And then in the live space, you see the musicians of the Stanford New Ensemble conducted by Hans Kretz, and they were performing together. So this performance used some new features of Jacktrip, including its video features. We also did some experiments with generative AI, and we integrated heartbeat signals. And just to say that this is very much about meeting people where they are. Joel actually had to use hotel Wi-Fi in the situation. So it's really about being able to perform whether in institutional or non-institutional contexts. So this is possible because Jacktrip achieves near zero latency, depending, of course, on the internet connection and the settings used. So it feels like playing music literally in the same room. So to better understand what this means, let me give you some context about the physical facts of this. So as we know, even in a real physical performance, sound waves take time to travel through air. So for instance, if you hear church bells or the call to prayer in the distance, actually what you're hearing may have actually happened a second or two before the sound reaches you. But at the same time, we know that the internet allows data to travel very, very quickly, much faster than sound through space. So for instance, if you have optic fibers, it's actually traveling at the speed of light. So therefore, with the jack trip settings that we're going to use today, there will be just a very tiny delay between the groups of musicians. So of about 16 milliseconds, a tiny fraction of a second, which is just as if there were just a few meters separating the musicians. So you could imagine, for instance, we see the musicians seated on the stage somewhat in the middle here. Imagine if the musicians were just spread out a little bit on the two sides of the stage, maybe where the speakers are located. That would be about what we are recreating with Jack Trip. So obviously that makes it possible for the musicians to really play together smoothly. And I just want to say finally that, of course, the internet itself is not perfect. So there can be glitches or dropouts of sound, even though Jack Trip is designed to help smooth over these problems. So I suggest thinking of this wonderful term that we heard this morning from Raymond and Femke, FLOMO, the flow of missing out, and to apply that in your listening today. Or as my colleague Cynthia Payne suggests, think about Jack Trip and the music platform as another instrument in itself, which isn't totally transparent, but also might make itself heard ever so slightly from time to time. So now I will hand over to Rory, to John and Rory from X Systems to talk more about connecting up these different technologies.
Hello, everyone. And thank you, Sophia, Nigel, and Patricia for covering. A lot. We have a lot of diverse things involved in this project. A lot of great people, and a lot of really good work. Especially from Stanford, Jack Trip. As you hear me over right now, you can't tell, but the latency is very low. So we're going to talk a little bit. I guess we don't have a whiteboard, John. That's okay. But no. Okay. So we're just going to quickly walk you through some of the emotional pathways we'll be showing in the platform today. And I believe you were seeing now you see me, and here I have with me Sayam and Jonas, and we are about a 20-minute walk away in Gothenburg. And we'll be showing, how we can remotely communicate our states of sight, mind and body in particular. For Sayam, you can see he's wearing this very trendy cap. Looks very, very modern fashion. And so you were seeing his emotional state represented in a swarm of dots. And you will see that during the performance. And this sort of represents one of our emotional pathways, where we have technology from our partners in CERT, from Maria, is predicting the emotional state from EEG. And then we're sending that data is manipulating the swarm of dots. And so you will see this representation, this abstract representation of Sayam's emotional state and Eva's on location throughout the pieces. And that will be all you will see for the first and last piece. Additionally, as we've talked about for the second piece, and we'll tell you a bit more then, we will also show how we can use these emotional predictions to generate music. We'll be making music just from either people's emotional state or directly from their brainwaves. And we'll tell you more about that now. But I think, in the meantime, there's been enough talking, and maybe it's time for some music. And our first piece was composed by Ewe Larsson, who I think is on stage. It was commissioned especially for the project. It is called Together Apart. Thank you.
Smoke signals, carrier pigeons, telegraphs, telephones, cell phones, sky, soon. What a wonderful trip.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me well? Okay, good, fantastic. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Hans Kretz, former director of the Stanford New Ensemble, and I also conduct ensembles at the École Supérieure de Musique Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. And I currently serve as member of the steering committee for the Université Bourgogne-Europe. So, to introduce our next performance, I will discuss MuseIT developments with Somax through two examples of workshop sessions that brought together ShareMusic, IRCAM, X System, and Stanford, one in preparation for AI Day 2024 in Jönköping, and the other for the International Computer Music Conference in June 2025 in Boston. These sessions, both featuring Ewe Larsson, the creator of the next piece, explored the intersection of inclusive human creativity, artificial intelligence, and telematic collaboration. At the heart of these sessions was the connection between two technologies. On one side, Somax, a co-creative AI software developed at IRCAM by the musical representations team, integrated by our project collaborator, Michael Matt. On the other side, Jacktrip, a tool for ultra-low latency and compressed audio over the internet, which Patricia introduced earlier. Linking these two was an important step towards building an online platform for remote co-creation. This performance highlighted the role of the performer as the creative driver. Eva guided the interaction using a multi-touch sampler for iPad, while Somax responded in real time, generating sonic material that complemented Eva's input and encouraged further musical responses in a feedback loop, demonstrating the potential of generative AI as a genuine collaborator in a co-creative process. So here is a short excerpt from that performance, linking up IRCAM in Paris with musicians in Sweden, which was broadcast at the AI Day as part of a presentation by Sofia Alexandersson and Ewe Larsson. I'll screen share, just give me one brief second. And so the next excerpt from May 2025 shows additional developments as we managed to connect Somax to Jacktrip while generating music directly from biosensors, in this case, an electroencephalogram, in an intercontinental workshop session bringing together musicians in Brazil, Sweden, and the UK. So this opens up new possibilities for performances in which physiological signals and emotions, in particular real-time emotional responses, can, through computational neuroscience, guide AI-driven interaction, creating a deeper form of collaboration between musicians, the diversity of their perceptive modalities, machines, and music by allowing musicians to perform directly through their brain activity, employing it as an instrument. In this excerpt, you will hear Ewe Larsson, flutist Cassia Carrascosa from Sao Paulo, and ex-system researcher John Turner performing together. Eva generating electronic sounds, Cassia playing the flute, and John wearing the EEG device, whose brainwave activity is sonified here through a saxophone sound. Do you know what I do? Yeah. So looking ahead, our aim is to continue to integrate various forms of biosensing to expand the expressive means of the instrument and also integrate X systems tools for musical selection according to EEG data in order to allow performers to shape the performances with their emotions and thus expand the scope of inclusive, accessible, and expressive online co-creativity. Thank you for your attention.
Shall I talk about it, or actually?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, introduce this one?
Okay, so this is another piece, and it's going to be incorporating the Somax with the modification with some violin music that was recorded by Nigel, as which is going to be accompanying Ewa's brain with her brainwaves, and they'll be playing the piece around that. Do you want to, carry on?
So what we're hearing now is the sound, as John was saying, Nigel's violin is the corpus, and Ewa's EEG is the influencer deciding which element, exactly, which musical phrases and excerpts, like sampling. It's like a sampler, which samples from the corpus it will play at any given moment, or if it will even play at all. It will sometimes decide not to play. And I think this high-pitched trill is our sign that it's time to begin the piece. So this is a mood exploration of depression led by Ewe and brain. Hello. Okay. Thank you. I thought that was incredible. That was really, really nice. And yeah, it shows, how in this case, I think what's really, interesting and dynamic about it is that Ewe is playing, not just having the brain playing, but playing as well, instruments, piano, and iPad. I think it's very interesting, dynamic. So we're going to have two more pieces, which we'll now play without interruption. We'll first be showing off another music generation system that we have, developed by our partners at Catalink. This one is not using Somax, but instead is taking changes in arousal and valence, just the same data that is manipulating the swarm of dots, and using that to change a melody and an accompaniment. In particular, I hope Vasilis is here to jump in to correct me if I get this wrong, but I believe that changing an arousal changes interval. So I think increasing arousal can make an interval go up, or decreasing go down. And also arousal is affecting frequency of notes in the accompaniment. And valence is affecting the harmony, so the quality of the interval and of the underlying harmony. It can change from major to minor depending on if the valence changes are positive or negative. And so we'll hear this now. Ewe also has this Polar H10 measuring heart rate and webcam. That data is similarly, predicting arousal and valence, and that will affect the composition. So we'll hear that, and after that we'll go straight into another emotional exploration, this time led by Sayam here, which will be exploring joy. And for that piece we will have no music generation, we'll just be displaying the emotional state of Sayam and Ewe. Thank you.
gör dig glad. Det här gör mig glad. Lycka att skapa något tillsammans med glädje. Joy.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? You've been part of something unique. So, well, thanks a lot to all the musicians, to all technicians. You can imagine how much preparation this has been to do this today. So, we will now give some time for Q&A because we do believe you might have some questions and wondering. And I also want to say hej till en grupp som finns här nere, som inte jag hann säga hej till innan. Kan vi få tillbaka de här prickarna? Hann ni att se de här figurerna? Sorry, I just need to take a little bit in Swedish. Känner ni igen mönstren från det att ni var och träffade Jonathan och Moa? So we have some people who have been part in our participatory session here. So just want to point out what happened with the material. So this has been such an exciting long process, just as we described that we've been taking things the whole way through and it's not kind of ready. This is just the starting point, as Nigel said. for what's next. Can you imagine what the future might be when we do get this really in place? So, do we have any questions or reflections? It doesn't even need to be a proper question. I can see one hand there. Nasreen will hand over a mic to the guy in the middle or someone. No, because we have quite a lot of people online, so please use the microphone as well. And also the people in the other studio will not hear you otherwise.
All right, yeah, of course.
Do I need to repeat the question now? It's just a question. Okay, please go ahead.
So it might be a very simple question, but so this, I'm not sure if it's jet trip or jack trip.
Jack trip.
Okay. So except for the obviously very specialized equipment for EEG and everything, can it run on like general public's computers and things like that? And if not, how long until it's available?
Hello. Great. Okay, great. Hi. So I'm really glad that you asked that, because one of the things that came out of the research the last couple of years is developing something called Jack Trip Studio with the Jack Trip Foundation. And this lets people use Jack Trip through a very accessible browser-based system. So yes, it's absolutely available to the public. I have to say we are doing some specialized things. And you're welcome to reach out to me with questions about doing very specific things in it. So there are some things that you've seen that are particular to the music platform, but absolutely Jack Trip Studio, you can go online, you can get started quite quickly with it, and you can also get started broadcasting your own music using it.
It's okay. Okay. We've got more questions. Yeah.
I have lots of questions, but most of it I will take with the musicians later. We know each other. But one of the things I've noticed, both as a musician playing online during the pandemic and as a facilitator for people with disabilities to be able to play music, is the reliability of the technique. So if you could discuss a bit maybe how you work with trying to make the technology more reliable, because as we saw yesterday, it's not always working. But if all people are going to have the possibility to use it, it has to be much more reliable. Because I've struggled with even getting people into a Zoom meeting. You know, most of you have done that. So being able to use Jack Trip in the settings I usually work is just, I can make it work for me, but I can't make it work for the people I work with. It's just too complicated, because they usually need to rely on other people who doesn't know anything about computers.
But the result of this project is not like something which is ready so you can go out to the shop and buy. So it's about what we call proof of concept. It's like we are describing this is what is possible to do. And one day you will hopefully be able to have it in your own home. And second, we are developing something which is very portable, and which is going to be like one piece. And I think it's standing over there on the table, which you can see in the break and try out. So the idea is really, our vision is that it's going to be something which is going to be very easy, plug in, play, easy, accessible in all means, okay? But maybe anyone else would like to respond? I don't know, John or Rory or...
So probably better, John, just to say, if you want me to hear questions, you'll have to repeat them into one of the mics connected to Jack Trip. I didn't hear the question. I'm sure John can answer.
Yeah, with Jack Trip specifically, we do want to try and go further with the integration of it. We've just kind of got to the point of fully understanding it ourselves enough to put on a performance like this smoothly. And but we really want to kind of get a lot of the setup more automated and more kind of connected with the rest of the platform that we've been building. If we do get a chance to work on that in the future, it'd be great. And yeah, there's the kind of the complexity of the setup today is a lot higher complexity than the setup where it's just two people maybe in two separate rooms connecting together. And we found Jack Trip Studios quite a lot easier to use for that kind of setup, but I think that there's still definitely work that could be done there. So.
More reflections or thoughts or questions? Any one of the musicians who would like to share anything? So this is also questions to the studio. What is it like to play remotely? You can ask them in the break. Anyway, I think we give them a warm hand. Thanks a lot for such brilliant people.